UniFirst has come a long way since its founding in 1936, when 4 Italian immigrants operated a small laundry business out of a converted horse barn in Boston, Massachusetts. Back then, the company was known as National Overall Dry Cleaning Company, and it focused, very simply, on cleaning and delivering the coveralls of local factory workers. And that was about it. Company founder Ronald Croatti would soon be named president and would lead National Overall in the brand new business concept that we now know as uniform rental. Customers were delivered professionally laundered work shirts and pants or coveralls each week for one low fee. They no longer needed to purchase their own work clothing or wash their soiled uniforms. And it was Aldo and National Overall who were the first in the industry to offer full uniform rental packages, including work jackets and a lot more. Over the next several decades and 2 company name changes, Aldo led the charge for significant year-to-year growth rates through his golden rule of business: servicing the customer as he would like to be serviced, providing them with nothing less than the utmost in service excellence. In 1986, with annual revenues at about $100 million, Aldo decided to step back and pass full control of what we now know as UniFirst Corporation to his son, Ron Croatti, who had been with the company working closely with Aldo for over 20 years. By this time, Aldo's daughter, Cynthia Croatti, had also joined the family business and would ultimately become the company's executive vice president. Under Ron's leadership and vision as president and CEO, UniFirst established more than 240 operations in nearly every U.S. state, across all of Canada and Mexico, in Nicaragua, and in Europe. And with Ron firmly at the helm, UniFirst grew to serve 2 million uniform wearers at 300,000 business customer locations and grew revenues from $100 million in 1986 to more than $1.5 billion in 2017. Ron Croatti was a true industry leader and visionary, and his impact on UniFirst, its team partners, and the industry as a whole will live on for generations to come.
My involvement with the company really started at my father's encouragement when I was a teenager. While I was going to college, I came back in 1965 and worked as a route sales rep for the summer. Upon graduating from college, I went to a UCLA and got a postgraduate degree for 1 year. Then I came back and I got my own route. After running a route for 12 or 13 months, I was promoted to route manager, equivalent to a DSM today. I did that for 6 months, collecting receivables and saving accounts and renewing contracts. After 6 months of being a DSM, my father suggested I go into sales. I really enjoyed sales. We did some unique things. We stood on corners, wrote down the names on the side of the trucks and whether the guy had uniforms or not, and that would give us a lead in to call the prospect. So sales was a lot of fun. And from sales, my father suggested I go into the plant. I spent 6 months in the plant doing everything from bagging mops, loading dry clean machines, wash wheels, pressing shirts. You name it, I did it in the plant and felt a good feeling for plant operations. Aldo really felt that I've come a long ways. I was getting industrial laundry college style education here, and I was set to change the world. But he said, wait a minute, come up to Woburn, the corporate office. And I basically learned in the corporate office how to read reports, how to do the administration, how to basically do the warehousing operation. I worked at the corporate office for about a year, and then at about that time, Aldo decided to make an acquisition in Pittsburgh known as Penn Overall. He spent $2 million on this acquisition, and it started to lose money. So he came to me and he basically said, I spent $2 million to lose money. I'd like you to go to Pittsburgh and straighten it out.
Ron's leadership was amazing. The existing general manager we had there was really not running the business well, and Ron came in and immediately made an impact. It was amazing to come in the morning at 6 o'clock and see a vice president passing out coffee with a route salesman. We would be in trouble in the plant. He would take his jacket and his tie off and go out, and he would help load and unload washers. He would move merchandise around, and it totally rallied the whole New Kensington team around a man that came from the corporate office and really made a huge difference in that acquisition.
Well, from 73 to 76, I worked the Pittsburgh operation to make it profitable. Once that occurred, he says, now go up to Syracuse and help Syracuse become profitable. While I was in Syracuse, I had the privilege of writing the company's largest account, Ford Stampling. I also had the privilege of losing the company's largest account. And I worked in Syracuse and basically brought that along with Pittsburgh. And then at that point, he says, well, I think it's time for you to keep going a little further. He made me a regional manager, which was equivalent of a regional vice president today. And at that point, I took over 2 other plants for a total of 4, and I took on the nuclear division. Over the next several years, while doing this learning on the environment and the wastewater and so forth and the reporting structure, I learned what it really was to become an executive and leadership of people and develop a team.
Long before Ron took charge of the company, it was very obvious that he was going to be a strong leader. He was involved in every aspect of the business. He was involved in sales, service, and production. He was involved with the UTSA as the chairman of the marketing committee, and he just really had a drive and passion for the business.
By 1986, I was with the company for over 20 years, and I've been a regional manager for 3 or 4 years at that point. And my father had some great confidence in me at that point also. So he was slowing down a little bit, and he could see he wanted to make a change. So at that point, he made me vice chairman and chief operating officer. And then all of a sudden, my father had a heart attack in 1986, and that kind of set everything back a little bit. We had a meeting, he and I, and he felt, he's going to turn over the keys to me and run the organization. He said he would mentor me along the line, and he basically said, there are 2 rules you basically have to follow. That's make money, make money, make money. And UniFirst always comes first. I got to be honest, at first I was nervous, but I also was elated to be taking over and have this vision of fruition of bringing the company to be an industry leader. And I also was concerned that, my father built a strong and growing company, that I had to continue that. But I had confidence in myself and knew I could do this. And we moved forward from that point.
There's no question that Ron has engendered the confidence of just about everybody in the company. Everyone knows he's a hands-on person that would rather be in a plant than in a fancy office somewhere.
After 5 years of being the chief operating officer, I was appointed the chief executive officer. And things were changing at UniFirst. We were now doing $250 million in revenue, but profits were starting to erode. And that set me back mentally to my business school days, that we needed a strong business plan to run the company. And that's where our first business plan, Vision 2000, was created.
Vision 2000 actually was a real change for the company. This was a time where Ron took hold of the company and really put his brand on it. Before that time, we were a good, strong company growing nicely, but we didn't have any vision.
The Vision 2000 business plan was developed in 1991 to move the company forward. And in that time frame, we benchmarked it against some of our competition and the things that they did. And it really changed a lot of the systems and procedures and visions that we had to move the company forward. We basically expanded the company to 9 plants and 32 branches, and we put a lot of additions onto the buildings to support the new one central distribution concept. So we went through a lot of capital during that time frame.
One of Ron's biggest accomplishments was the establishment of the Owensboro Distribution Center. Long before, 2 years before that, we had 4 or 5 distribution centers, and we were having a tremendous amount of problems getting garments out of those distribution centers. And most of the general managers were all for adding more. And Ron stood firm. He decided to build one massive distribution center that could handle it, and it was a tremendous decision. Ever since that location has opened, Owensboro has opened, it's been truly a success story and one of Ron's greatest decisions in UniFirst.
We developed a corporate office mentality, our first HR department. We moved forward on sales training, better financial controls. So we were moving forward, and I gotta say I'm quite proud of profits improved as we were moving along, and our growth was good. And the thing now we really had to focus on was getting that growth to be extraordinary. So we went to the sales organization to try to reinvigorate the sales organization. And like I said before, no standing still for us. By the year 2000, we have reached our goal of $500 million in revenues, and our profits were reasonable. And that basically was our Vision 2000 plan, but I realized it was time to come up to a new plan. I always had this vision of having a billion-dollar company, and that's what Horizon 21 was all about, to take us to that next level, to be a true industry leader.
With Horizon 21, Ron wanted his managers and executive group to start thinking globally instead of their own departments and locations. He wanted everyone to see the big picture. In the end, we all got together, started working hard, and we achieved our $1 billion.
One of the key strategies in Horizon 21 was to develop a program for better customer retention. And we developed Customers for Life during that time. We earlier had a program on customer retention, but we reinvigorated the program with Customers for Life. In addition to improving our retention, we had to improve our new sales and get our sales force more productive to reach that $1 billion goal. I gotta say, some really thought that maybe that $1 billion goal was wishful thinking, but I knew in my heart and soul that we could reach that goal. As I mentioned earlier, UniFirst becoming a $1 billion company was a very personal goal for me. I was very proud to report in 2008 that the $1 billion goal of Horizon 21 was achieved. UniFirst became a $1 billion company.
It's really Ron's leadership that's allowed this to happen. I think everyone recognizes without his driving and pushing, we would never have achieved it.
To work at UniFirst today is being part of a winning team, a winning culture, and it's because of Ron. Ron has devoted his life, his body and soul and time to this company, and when you work for somebody like that, you get to share in that excitement and focus. It's like being part of a very strong family unit. You feel safe, supported, and on a winning team, and you can only do that if the top guy lives and breathes the company like Ron.
And it was in 2011 that Ron once again demonstrated that he did indeed live and breathe UniFirst, achieving international fame when he and the company took a big risk, agreeing to be featured on CBS TV's hit reality television show, Undercover Boss. Through the magic of Hollywood, Ron was transformed into a unique-looking character named Mike Daniels. Then went undercover to work alongside his employee team partners to identify any areas where he might be able to improve their jobs or overall productivity. Ron was called on to try unloading and sorting soiled laundry, operating a giant washing machine, sewing emblems onto uniforms, and carefully pressing customer work shirts. Naturally, his inexperience shined through, and the episode even highlighted a comical wardrobe malfunction involving his disguise. But in the end, it all worked out quite well for Ron and UniFirst. The show achieved stellar ratings with 14 million viewers and provided the company with an estimated $13 million in free advertising that resulted in record sales for the year. Once again, Ron's instincts to take a risk in the name of UniFirst paid off.
Vista 2020, a new vision. This plan will carry our company to the $2 billion in revenue mark and $200 million in profits. This plan will make us the second largest provider in the industry. The bottom line is the same as it was back in 1936. We must always exceed customer expectations and to keep them for customers for life. By keeping the customer first, it'll make Vista 2020 successful. And with the success of 2020, we will reach our objectives. Accomplishing the goals of Vista 2020 to get UniFirst to a $2 billion company won't just depend on me. It will depend upon the UniFirst family of hard work day in and day out, dedication, believing it can be accomplished, and have that desire to get there. That's how we made the first billion, and that's what it's going to take to make the second billion. I've transitioned a small company to a large company by building revenues of over $1 billion and profits of $100 million. And I'm proud to know that UniFirst has gained respect from Wall Street investors. In looking back, when the UniFirst history books are written, I would think that it'll show that my father Aldo built a strong foundation of a company for growth and for profits and moving forward. And then when I took over leadership, we established a winning culture, a strategic purpose, a professionalism in management, and established a company from coast to coast. And when the final chapter is written, I hope it'll show that I was successful in keeping a family culture in a large international company. A culture where all our team partners live by the golden rule. A culture that was so important to my father, Aldo.
My father's values obviously included his family, but the family wasn't just his family, it was the employees and vendors and everybody who made up UniFirst and supported UniFirst. Ron has managed to keep that value strong while the company has grown exponentially, which is really amazing to be able to do that. And it's wonderful to be a part of the family.
It's amazing to me what the business has become. You know, it still has the foundation of still being a family business. But every day we work hard, we treat everybody like we're part of the family. And that's that you see the most with my father is, you know, he treats everybody like the way he wants to be treated. He really, truly believes in the golden rule.
You know what I think Aldo would have said about the company reaching $1 billion? He would have said, "Good job, son."